Hello. Welcome back to my channel. In my haul video, somebody asked me what a first day cover was. And I did a video, I think it was 4 years ago, on making your own first day covers. And I had a look at it. It was a bit basic. I used some fabulous images from Mrs. Cog. But I thought what I would do is actually revisit some of those older videos and maybe update them a little bit, a few more ideas maybe, and just to refresh them really. And also gives me a great chance to explain in a bit more detail. So, basically, obviously people have collected stamps for a very long time. And in the 1920s, post offices decided that it would be a really good idea for collectors to send out what is known as a first day cover. Now, basically, a set of stamps would come out, such as these, and the post office would present them onto an envelope to a collector. The envelope was usually decorated with some kind of pattern, and it would have it would incorporate a postmark specific or special for those stamps. So as you can see on here, it says first day of issue, and these stamps came out on the 14th of November 1989. These envelopes were for collectors, and inside the first day cover, or the envelope, would be information pertaining to the stamps, and this one is specifically about Christmas and the Ely Cathedral. So this is basically the history, in short, of first day covers, and they have been about ever since. So, you know, all of the stamps, all of the themes, and these are still going today. So from 1920s till today, you've been able to get these kind of special envelopes sent to your property. I mean, look how beautiful that is. It's absolutely beautiful. On top of that, this is fairly more recent, I think, maybe the 70s, 80s, they started doing the sets of stamps as postcards. So you could buy the whole set of stamps on a presentation pack, which was delivered to your house. You could buy the postcards, and you could also, in 1960, the post office needed a way to present stamps to sell for the International Stamp Exhibition. So they started doing what is known as a presentation pack. So the difference between these and the first day covers is these you would obviously have to pick up, or they would be posted to you in an envelope. But these are what is called mint condition. They are not postmarked. They are mint stamps. And again, you would have information on there. And I mean, these ones I picked up for £1. And these are now in the region of £20 to £25-ish to buy the presentation pack every time we send out or we issue a new set of stamps. And they are super expensive, but you can pick them up. You know, this one, obviously, I bought this again because I can use this piece, even though there's only one stamp in there. They're not always whole. You don't always get the full set. But they are absolutely beautiful. They are so useful if you just want to use one of the stamps. So today we are going to use old envelopes to make some faux first day covers. And this one, as you can see, hasn't got the address on it. So what I have done is I'm going to do two versions. I'm going to do a kit version and I'm going to do a non-kit version. So there'll be a choice for everyone, and just to show that you can do this with anything. So I couldn't find many nice cream envelopes. I have thousands of them, as probably most of us do, but today, because I was looking for them, I could find two. I've got two plain ivory envelopes, and then I've got some of these really nice craft envelopes. So I'm going to do some on there and maybe some on there. So I've got two of each as a starting point. Now, out of my scrap paper box, I've just found some fairly thin plain-ish colour papers. This is obviously a piano roll, but there are areas on here that I can use, and this is a piece of very light tea-dyned copy paper, so that's quite thin. I just pulled out a fairly small book, but any book with small images in would do. Obviously the book would give you the theme. And I have printed some digitals, and I've done these 2 per page, as you can see, and these ones I've done 4 per page. So I didn't cut them out. I wanted to be able to show you what I'm doing. So I'm not quite sure which themes I'm going to do as yet, but I do know the non-kit version will be a floral themed. I've got a 1.5 inch square punch. I think these little joyful portraits would work really well on a craft envelope. So I'm going to cut out maybe 4 of these. Okay, so I've cut 4 of my joyful portraits. They're quite large, and I've also cut 4 of my bugs. These are from my Bucket kit. Now, these envelopes are probably not as big as I would like. They work obviously much better on probably a C5 style envelope. I am going to give these a little ink. So we have our little stamps here, and let's do the others as well. My glue. Now when we glue these down, we want to leave a little bit of space around them. We don't want to put them too close together, which is the reason we had to cut them out. Otherwise we could have made our faux stamps straight off. So those are glued down. I'm just going to glue these ones. So when I did this the first time round, I had different scissors back then. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try a little bit of my decorative scissors out and see how they look in terms of a stamp edge. So that one's not too bad. I've got a couple that are very, very similar. That's okay. It's a bit too decorative, I think. And then these are the straightforward kind of, and that makes a pretty good edge actually. So I think I'm going to go for these scissors with the kind of deckled edge. So you could use a tear ruler, or you could use the Tim Holtz paper trimmer if you have that. So I'm going to do one set with the scissors, and I think I'm going to do the bugs. So what I'm going to do is just cut them out, leaving a little bit of space around each one to give that a faux stamp kind of effect. So we have something like that. I might have to do a little swap around here. I might have left a little bit too much on there, so I'm going to get a bit closer to my image this time. Okay, so those ones are all cut. I really like the way they look actually. That deckled edge looks pretty good on there. So now I'm going to go back to what I did use in my previous video, which was this, and it's a perforation tool. It's got a little wheel on it which forms perforations, and I'll show you what that looks like. You do probably need a metal edge ruler, or to be very, very careful on a plastic one. But what you want to do is when you use this tool is not lift it up. These are fairly cheap to purchase. Go forward and back, but you can't lift up, because if you do, you won't get your holes in the same place again. And I don't know if you can see, it causes these little perforations. Now these are actually fairly small for a stamp, but we're going to use it anyway today. Line my stamps up, and I'm just using the metal piece on my ruler as a little guide as to where I want to roll my roller. So I'm just going to go forward and back. So now I'm going to go around each stamp with my little perforation tool. I don't know if you can see that, but what I'm going to do is fold along each of those lines. And I'm going to actually use my ruler to tear along. I know the perforations should tear fairly well. So that didn't work perfectly. I've got a little tear here, but I think that happened in the previous video. And that's okay, because quite often in these older stamps, when they were put together with perforations in this way, you often did tear the stamp. So you can kind of see, hopefully you can, the little edges on there, and you kind of decide how you want your stamps. If I have a look, I mean, they're always in a line. Sometimes you would have stamps like this, so you would have the 4, so it's not unusual. If you wanted to do them like that, you can. I think let's have those as a 4 and those straight across. Now what I'm going to do before I stick these down is I'm going to decide how I want to decorate these little pieces of envelope. Now the bug one, I actually quite like this, so I'm going to quickly cut that out. Okay, and I'm going to ink that. I'm not going to ink around my stamps because you don't have ink around stamps generally. So I think that would go there, but I want a little bit of pattern underneath it. So I'm going to have a quick look. I've got some stamps out. Okay, I think I'm going to use one of these. Now, because I want to do a pretty good job of this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my pencil, move my stamp up a little bit and draw a little line so I know not to go above that line. I'm going to use my stamping platform for this. Play around with the layout. I think I'm going to go for that. And because I'm using the platform, I've got plenty of option to stamp again if it's not dark enough, which it isn't. I have refilled this ink, but it doesn't seem to have taken as well as the distress inks do. One more, I think. Right, so that's that one. And this one, I'm going to use some text. Let's grab this. I think I'm just going to use a little bit of text along the bottom here, like that. So let's do this one first. We'll go boy, girl, boy, girl. I'm going to start in that top corner. So I'm going to glue this stamp in place. I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap between them because I'm going to add a postmark, and what we don't want to do is end up having to cover up too much of the picture on the stamp, on the faux stamp. Okay, now I've pulled out some of my Tim Holtz paper dolls because I thought they would make a great alternative for the picture. I think I like that one. So I'm going to ink around using my lovely little applicator that I got from Corey. need to grab something pokey to get that little bit out there. And I'm going to glue him into place. Okay, so that one's almost done. Put that aside. Grab this one. Glue these pieces down. So that's the two of those. So let's add some postage kind of, that one's quite big. That's too big. Okay, just bear with me. Yeah, this one is a little bit smaller. So this one is, this is eccentric and this one is correspondence. I'm actually going to use the one from eccentric because it's smaller. I mean, this actually says factory made, so it's not the right kind of stamp really, but I think it's going to work. Right. I'm going to ink up my stamp. The original ones that I used in my previous video, I actually do not know where those are anymore. And let's do one there. I think these work just as well. Now what we'd probably have is something in the middle to cover all of those stamps. So I think I'm going to do that. And that is it for that. I'm going to leave that out because I will need that again for the non-kit version. But these are our two faux first aid covers. First day covers, and I hope you agree and think they would make an absolutely wonderful addition to any journal, or they would make fantastic happy mail. So let's have a go at a non-kit version. So what I'm going to do is grab my stamp, try and find some images that will work well. Let's try that. So that's one. So these, as you can probably see, are smaller than the previous ones. Okay. Now these are a little bit white, so what I'm going to do is not use the scorched timber. I'm going to grab a little brush and I'm just going to use Vintage Photo Distress ink and give these a light inking. Just so they're not so white. And now I'm going to ink the actual edges of these just so they look like they've got a border. Any theme, any digital, any book page, something small. Use up those envelopes. Use up the little bits of digital kits maybe that you're not using as much. So rather than you watch me do this whole process again, I'm going to glue these down and cut them out. And I think I'm going to use the scissors to cut these. So I need to decide whether I'm going to use the lighter or the darker envelope, and I've got a feeling it's going to look better on there. Yeah, so I'm going darker envelope again. So it's kind of a bit of a twist on an actual first day cover. I think I might use the rather large flower for this. So let's grab the okay, I actually really dislike that stamp. Yeah, not a fan. I'm going to change this envelope. Before I stamp on to my new envelope, I'm just going to stamp on here to see how this looks. Yeah, I like this one better. So let's do that again. Okay, that's much better. So I'll glue my stamps into place. You could always use a piece of book page if you don't have a stamp that will work with your theme. I just thought maybe some little die cuts might work, but I don't think the colour combination I have is the best to go with this. Yeah, so I think I'll leave it at that. So we have our non-kit version and 2 kit versions of our kind of faux first day covers. I hope that you found that useful. I'm not sure if it is any better than my previous video or not, but either way, I'm very happy with the outcome, and I will certainly be using these and making more. I think they look pretty cool. And obviously, if you wanted to, you could put in a card with information on whatever you were using. So for example, if you were using photographs of a family member, you could also tuck in something relating to that family member into the first day cover. So I hope you like it. I will be back soon. Take care.